Hello everyone. I'm making this in the early afternoon instead of morning. It's a little chilly in the morning. It's still cold, but it's not, because I still got my jacket on. But it's bearable. The wind's blowing a little bit, so I got my microphone again. It is winter in Georgia, but it's not super cold. I mean, we had some cold days 3 or 4 weeks ago. It got down to 10. And I don't mind, getting out in it if I'm dressed for it. I'll put my gloves on. The gloves are not on right now, so it's warm enough not to need them, at least in the afternoon. But as cool as it is here, things are heating up around the world. Russia met with Iran recently, and in a week or so they're going to be meeting with Turkey. Familiar names if you're familiar with Ezekiel. Well, at least they're names that were used way back when. But Persia is a fairly new usage for it. They changed it in the early 1900s to Iran, but they were called Persia. The Prince of Persia. There's a video game for that, and a movie. And they're the heart of the trouble right now that Israel's dealing with. But for the most part, Israel's safe, because these countries are afraid. What they're doing right now is a game of, as I usually say, chess. They're depleting their stocks. And now America's come out and said, well, you're not going to do what we ask you to do, so we may not just give you these replenishment shipments that we're supposed to be sending to you. Our evil president and the rest of the people up there are trying to manipulate Israel. Go for the two-state solution. The Palestinians don't want a two-state solution. They agree with Israel. They want a one-state solution. Only they don't want the Israelites to live there. They want to live there themselves. And the Israelites want to live there and don't want the Palestinians. You're not going to solve this politically. Israel's doing what they can to solve it. Now, someone's trying to do another hostage swap. The only thing you can do to prevent hostages is to make sure that they're afraid to ever do it again. Because they are going to take hostages if they can get away with it, which they've done. But hopefully they will think twice about doing it again. Lebanon doesn't want to be in this war. The government of Lebanon doesn't want to be in this war, but they're being commanded by Hezbollah to just be quiet, sit back, and we're going to take this. The Gazans don't like what's happening. They're being displaced. Living in a war zone is not comfortable. But there's parts of Israel now. There's probably like 1,000 Israelites that have had to abandon their homes because they put their homes up near the border. It's filling up pretty fast now. You just can't build anywhere in Israel. You've got so much holy land, traditional land, that you just can't build anywhere. And we should never have given away the northern bank, and we should never have given away Gaza. We should have let them expand even more. And nobody wants them. And this UNWR, whatever it is, agency that's supposed to be there helping them teach, many of them took advantage of October 7th and got in there and got some licks in themselves. And they've been promoting it amongst the students. So countries are abandoning them, no longer giving them money. Millions of dollars going to this agency. I hope they completely drive it out. They have no business there. If you're teaching terror, you belong with the devil, not on this planet. And he's got a place reserved for him. So anyhow, we're seeing this continue to escalate. The Houthis now don't care who they shoot at, they're shooting at everybody. They're shooting at their neighbors, they're shooting at U.S. warships. They can hit a tanker and do some damage to a tanker. They can board a tanker. We're not currently escorting every ship, but we should. And we should blow the boats up with all these terrorists on them. Just blow them up. Kill everybody on them. These are terrorists. Again, you know where they belong. They're killing innocent people for their religious cause, which is not a godly cause. At least not our God. But I guess you could still call this a land of peace. When's the Magog war? That's a question. We're going to look, but we're not going to really know. Nobody really knows. We've got a couple of other wars that maybe we have to come in here that are in the Bible, maybe not. I'm not even going to bother to mention them because there's too much back and forth on, well, it already happened. No, it hasn't. So I'm not even going to get into that. The Ezekiel war we know is happening. And it's going to involve Russia, probably. That's the area where Magog is. Gog is the ruler of Magog. What's the translation? I don't know. We can translate most of the other names. And some of them were plain. Libya, Ethiopia, Persia. And some of the other ones which speak up and say, what are you doing? You coming down here to plunder? Israel is wealthy. It's one of the, I think, the 7th economy of the world. And they're also up there as far as ability to defend themselves. They have nukes. I don't know how many. They don't talk about it. But they have enough to probably hit. They're surrounded by 23 Muslim countries. I bet you they've got at least one for each one. We know that there's going to be some disasters where the place will be uninhabitable. That sounds like a nuke to me. So I'm going to read a little bit out of Ezekiel 38. It's noisy around this park, if you haven't figured that out. That's an ambulance or something going somewhere. The freeway's on the other side of the trees, on the other side of the lake. I can hear it. I wear earplugs at night here. Ezekiel 38, verse 1. And you, son of man, prophesy to the mountains of Israel, and say, O mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord. Now, this is all figurative. You're not going to go talk to the mountains. But you might talk into the mountains, because that's where some of the tribes are. Thus saith the Lord God, because the enemy has said of you, Aha! We have you. I'm adding that. The aha basically means, we have you surrounded. The ancient heights have become our possession. Therefore prophesy and say, Thus saith the Lord God, because they made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, surrounding them, so that you become the possession of the rest of the nations, and you are taken up by the lips of talkers and slandered by the people. How many nations around the world are attacking Israel? Stop the genocide. Hamas is doing the genocide, but they're saying Israel stopped the genocide. It even got taken to the world court, but they kind of just ignored it. They didn't really do anything. They said, well, okay, don't commit genocide. That's our commandment to you, don't commit it, which they're not. Therefore, mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord God. Thus saith the Lord God to the mountains and the hills, and the rivers and the valleys and the desolate wastes, and the cities that have been forsaken, basically everybody around them, to the rest of the nations all around. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, surely I have spoken in my burning jealousy against the rest of the nations. We're attacking God's own people. And there will be a price to pay. Go back and read in Genesis. You bless Israel, God will bless you. You attack Israel, God will attack you. Surely I have spoken in my burning jealousy against the rest of the nations and against all Edom, Edom is on the coast of the sea to the south. It's basically western Iran, who gave my land to themselves as a possession with wholehearted joy and spiteful minds in order to plunder its open country. Therefore prophesy concerning the land of Israel and say to the mountains and the hills and the rivers and the valleys, when it's repeated, it's for emphasis. Thus saith the Lord God, behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and my fury, because you have borne the shame of the nations. Therefore, thus saith the Lord God, I have raised my hand in an oath that surely the nations all around shall bear their own shame. There will be a time that they will realize that they made a mistake. Inevitably, for those that are non-believers, that time is too late to correct it. For indeed I am for you, my people of Israel. But, O mountains of Israel, shall shoot forth branches, for yield are about to come. For indeed I am for you. I will turn you, and you shall be tilled and sowed. Okay, so he's basically saying he's going to help them to prosper. I will multiply men upon you, all the house of Israel, all of it. The cities will be inhabited, the ruins rebuilt. I will multiply upon you man and beast, and they shall increase and bear young. I will make you inhabited as in former times, and do better for you than at your beginnings. So God's going to help them, and they are. If there wasn't war, it'd be a massive tourist thing in there, and the Sunni Muslims that are not really at war, it's the Shiites that are causing all this. The Sunnis want peace. There's a whole bunch of them signed a peace treaty. They want tourism back. They're not making any money. They don't have oil wells like Iran and some of the other states do. I will make you inhabited as in the former times, and do better for you than in the beginnings. Then you shall know that I am the Lord. Yes, I will cause men to walk on you. My people Israel, they shall take possession of you, and you shall be better inheritance. No more shall you bereave them of children. Okay, I'm reading out of 36 before I get to 38. God's going to restore them. The next chapter, 37, it talks about the dry bones. So God's bringing them all back. It's already happened. Ezekiel 36 has already happened. They're back in there. Now, the nations don't like it around them, but they're back in there. God helped them. And the nations, every time they attack them, they lose ground. So they've kind of stopped. What they're doing right now is just outright terrorism. Launching missiles into public areas is just outright terrorism. Coming across the border, kidnapping and raping is terrorism. It's one of Satan's tools. They tried all-out war and couldn't do it. They're not winning at this, but they're winning attrition. They've got thousands of missiles. 60, 70, 80,000 missiles in surrounding countries that we know of. And they've been filtering through Syria into Lebanon for a long time. That warehouse near the coast in the port there that blew up a few years back, that's stuff to go after Israel with. And they didn't manage it well, and it blew up. You see how big of a crater and how much damage it did? That was meant for Israel. Okay, so now we're going to look over at 38. I'm not going to read 37. Again, that's just the dry bones, because it was desolate when Mark Twain went to Israel a number of years ago, when he was alive, obviously. He said, "This is the most desolate place in the world. I don't recommend it to anybody. I don't plan on coming back." Nobody wanted it. Israelites wanted it. Now we're on 38:1. Now the word of the Lord came to me, saying, "Son of man, set your face against Gog of the land of Magog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal, and prophesy against them, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against you, O Gog, the prince of Rosh, Meshach, and Tubal. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and lead you out. I think of fishing when I do that. You catch a fish and he can't get away. You're pulling him in and he can't get away. I will lead you out with all your army, horses and horsemen, all your splendidly clothed, a great company of bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, Libya are with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and Ischus, the house of Togarmah, far from the north, and all of Ischus. Many people are with you. Prepare yourself and be ready, you and all your companies that are gathered about you. After many days you will be visited. In the latter years you will come into the land of those that were brought back from the sword and gathered with many people on the mountains of Israel. So we just saw in 36 where they were building them back. 1948, they became a country. Since then, we've been in this book. So we know that all the stuff that's happening now is happening because it's prophesied. God knew it was going to happen. The wind's picking up and it's getting cooler. The sun's starting to go down. So I'm going to zip up my jacket and get ready as I finish this. Come on. My hands are getting cold too. Okay, there we go. I'm better. And I'm going to put my gloves on just to kind of warm my hands up. Be prepared. I'm prepared for cold weather. Be prepared with food in case something happens to our food supply. I went to the market. I thought I was going to go buy another $50, $60 worth of stuff. Came out with $150 worth of food. I bought fresh food, good food, to put in my refrigerator. I didn't go buy the cheap canned stuff. You can't live off of canned food. You can survive off of it, you can't live off of it. It's not good for you. I bought good food and it was double what I paid the week before. Everything that I picked up was a $5. Box of crackers, $5. These things should have been under $2. You know, bread's okay, but I've had bread in my tent for a month and a half, and it's not stale. It's not moldy. That's not natural. I know there's preservatives and treatments in there, but we can't take all that in all the time. I don't eat bread all the time. It's getting expensive, people. Have your stores, have your food. If you can't afford it, and pray to God that we get out of here fast. If you can buy 2 cans of beans versus 1, buy 2. Buy rice, buy bags of beans, dry goods, have those. Make sure you put them in the right place, protect them. They're going to be as good as gold here soon. It's good to be able to buy food and put in your freezer. I'd highly recommend you have a backup power source, because if power goes out, everything in that freezer will be gone. Same with the refrigerator. You can only cook so much food so fast. All right, I walked over and got some closer pictures. I looked at the pictures I took at the lake and the birds, and they weren't close enough, so I walked amongst them this time so you can see them better. I'll stick that at the end. Prepare. It's probably going to be this year, but when? I don't know. Feast of Trumpets, that seems to be the high time again, but could be Easter. And again, it doesn't give a date. Everybody wants to put it on a festival, but it doesn't have to be. It just said be ready. All right. Have a blessed day, everybody. Here we have the geese. Let's go move them around a little bit. Uh-huh. 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 It's not a petting zoo, but they let you walk amongst them. I'm hoping you've got food. These are park birds. People bring bread out here and feed them. Which you can do. As a general rule, it's not good to feed the animals, but they let you feed the birds. Still blowing, second day in a row that it's blowing. I don't know, I mean, 20 miles an hour. Normally there's no wind. Big reservoir here that feeds the area. You can get boats out here. I'd recommend it in the summertime. Get across on the other side of this depends on which way the wind's blowing. Chase them in the water. Osprey. They have them here. Of course, it looks better when the trees have leaves on them. This is the infamous starball tree. If you've ever stepped on one in barefoot, you have names that I can't mention here for it. Okay. Life jackets. Boating hours 7 a.m. to sunset. Personal flotation devices. Safety. No swimming. It's not very clear. Over in those trees there is where I'm camping. I'm right on the other side of the ridge that's there, so you can't see my tent. There's no hiking trails there. This lake doesn't have any hiking trails. You've got to drive all the way back to the visitor center, which is back in that area, and get a hiking trail. All right. Just came from the storage unit, dropping some stuff off, picking stuff up. What I use it for. Can't carry everything in my car. Have a blessed day, everybody.